What is going on? Welcome back to my channel, Coops Fitness. Now, if you're new here, make sure you give me a follow on Instagram and hit the subscribe button on my YouTube channel right away. So today, in this video, I want to talk about something that is very misunderstood, I think, in just everywhere, like the media and society, in culture, in sports, everywhere you go. So I think that competence, general competence, matters over rank. Most people think that rank is what is actually important, but it's not. Most people gauge everything just purely off of rank. And I think that's bullshit. And here's why. Because you can jump through whatever hoop you want. You can jump through however many hoops you want. You can go through any mediocre system. You can go through any radical mediocre agenda to attain like I don't know, some kind of outcome. You can be somewhat accomplished, right? And you can achieve what's called a rank, right? You can be so-called above someone else and higher up than someone else. You can have those things, but all it's doing is it's actually moving you backwards, and that's actually making someone weaker, not stronger. Now, this is why I think it makes people weaker, because when you're in a position of power, you're sort of convinced that you've made it, right? When you're a boss, or when you have a high position, maybe if you're like the leader, the head coach of a sports team, or maybe if you're like a black belt in a martial art or something like that, you've kind of attained this automatic position of power where you could use that power. And you could use that power to make certain decisions. And to an extent, you are competent as long as you know what you're doing and as long as you can handle those positions. And to an extent, yes, you are a high dominating person. And so unfortunately, people misinterpret that for actually being like genuinely a solid person who is like really, really good at what they do. Because someone who jumps through the ranks, they just earn that position, and that position owns them. When you hold a position of power, you don't own that position. That position owns you. You are put in a position of power where you have to make very uncomfortable decisions about people and about certain things. Okay? Now, general competence is different. General competence, just being really good at what you do, just being really, really good, just being an all-star, just being who you are, that's very different than your rank. In fact, it's completely different. Because someone who's lower than someone else has potential, right? It doesn't matter where on the rank you are. It has nothing to do with who you are. It has nothing to do with your attitude. It has nothing to do with your character. It has nothing to do with those things. And if you're in an environment where you have a leader who either doesn't know what they're doing because they don't know how to take charge and they don't know how to lead, or maybe they're a little too toxic, and maybe it would be better off if you got rid of them, right? Now, unfortunately, we have people like that out in the world. And unfortunately, because those people are in those positions of authority, there's not much that you can do about them. The only thing that you can do is you can change your own behavior. So what I would say is, if you want to actually be effective, if you want to actually make so-called a difference, make a difference in the world, if you want to do that, then what you have to do is you have to figure out a way to lead other people by example, because you are not in that position of authority, so you don't have the power to fully take the charge. And until you get to that position, you're going to have to do it that way. But once you eventually get to a position of power, you take more charge, you fully lead, and if you already have a background of leading by example, then people will respect you even more, right? So rank doesn't mean competence at all. And the people out there who are the most highly competent at what they do, the people out there who are the best at what they do, they actually don't give a fuck about rank. Not at all. And I really want to emphasize that. So don't doubt yourself just because you're not in, that sexy position that everyone talks about. Just because you're not in that sexy position that everybody wants you to be in, right? Just because you're not in a high dominating position where you can make all the decisions, right? So just remember that. So that's it for today's video. So make sure you subscribe to my channel, give this video a like. Also follow me on Instagram at trainwithcoops.fitness, right? We talk about a lot of strength training, right? I talk about a lot of coaching, a lot of mentality. I talk about how to grow as a person. Make sure you follow. You're never going to miss out.